Penang. If you love the old school as much as I do, this is the perfect place to indulge. But I want to go deeper. Put my finger on the Penang difference. See how they preserve their past and their stories. So let's find out. When I travel, I don't just want to visit a place, I want to really see it like a local. I want a taste of real life. Local stories and insights. My name is Zer, and let's go see life around the world through local eyes. Once a thriving port in the 18th century, what remains in Penang is a delicious mix of culture, flavors, and architecture. And to find out how preservation here all began, I start with the OG.
In the year 1990, there was no heritage law at all in the country. If you said conservation and heritage, nobody quite understood it. So all I knew is that we needed something as a demonstration project. You have to put your money where your mouth is, you have to do it yourself, and then use it as a showcase.
Built in 1911 by Cheong Fat Zi, a powerful Chinese merchant dubbed Rockefeller of the East, the Blue Mansion started the conservation revolution in Penang. But as the story goes, it wasn't Lawrence who chose this now award-winning boutique hotel, restaurant, and heritage site. It was the mansion that chose him.
2 years before the property came to market, I was actually driving past the property and then I stopped the car, looked at the building, and I said, shit, this building's going to take my life. And I said, no. Then I drove off. I said, impossible. Why would I want a building like this?
Still skeptical and a little apprehensive, he finally stepped in for a viewing. One specific spot changed his mind and life forever.
The central courtyard is obviously one of the favorite places because when I first walked in and saw it, my jaw dropped. I said, my God, I've never seen something like this before. We discovered that in the center of this courtyard, there's a chi point, like an energy well. Before they actually built the house, I believe the Feng Shui master located a point with a very strong energy vortex and then built the house around that point. This was planned inside out. You can almost picture the energy coming up through the space and filling it out. It's not the other way around, it fills the space. So this place, besides its architecture, a sense of calmness, a sense of spiritual presence which you cannot explain.
And serenity.
Yes.
Calm opulence, understated grandeur. Is this the Penang feels? Is this what Lawrence hopes Penang will hold on to?
If you talk about the generation after me, so I look at my children, they're definitely Penang people. They know how to look after money. They're very conscious of their legacies in terms of their culture. And then when you see the young generation coming back, opening their little coffee houses, they're actually immersing themselves in that same environment. So they're learning from the previous generations. As long as that advocacy continues, I think at least for the next 1-2 generations, it will still be there.
My friends from Penang always tell me about the Penang pride. Do you think it really exists?
That part of it does. In fact, I try and address the pride of being from Penang. You have to say you're from Penang and you challenge them. How can you let the site down?
Thanks to him, this 100-year-old masterpiece lives on as it was built from day one, with every stone and every secret intact. Staying there was my balling in the 1800s fantasy come true. On the flip side, some are moving away from stories of the past to create their own, like the culinary rebel, restaurateur, and badass Penangite, Chef Wang. His projects are always full of surprises, and this sleek modern joint is no exception. Yes, it was kinda tricky to find, and yes, it was worth the reveal. Key partners with Ted and Jack. Together, they're Chin Chin, and on the menu, you'll find a social experiment of sorts.
We don't really study about what the market wants, which sounds a bit weird. Me and my partners, we always wanted to have a bar. When we drink, we prefer to sit in the bar. But whether it works or not for the locals, I'm not quite sure. But we just want to do something different. So we decided to have a very nice, long bar. People can get social. We always change our menu. That's why we have a very small menu.
What is it based on? Is it seasonal?
It's seasonal, but what I call seasonal is whatever is in season all around the world. Okay, this is the panna cotta dish. The bottom is a panna cotta. The swirl around, it's chocolate, whiskey mousse, and also raspberry sorbet on top, white chocolate platter.
Let's dig in. I'm usually not a whiskey person, but I like the smokiness and the sweetness balances it very nicely.
Yeah, my personal preference is I like simple, clean food. For me, it's more about the right technique and the good ingredients.
Yeah, treat it with respect, right?
Yeah, the mentality of the Penang people is they like to go to a place where everyone knows them, reasonable price.
For Penangites, the price is quite a heavy consideration.
Yeah.
Are they willing to pay 39 ringgit for a cocktail?
I think if they can pay 9 ringgit, it will be better. You know, but it must change because they price the product by the cost of the raw material. I value the creativity, the hard work. Maybe it's not cheap, but it's worth it.
There was only one way to end the night right, with more chow at Chin Chin, another restaurant under their wing. It's fine dining food without the stuffy rules. Open till late, it's inspired by their own cravings for supper food outside the usual noodles or nasi kandar.
Penang is more about hawker food, street food. That's why I really hope that the consumer are willing to pay more for them because what they are making is actually not enough for them to survive. In restaurant and hawker is the same. They work long hours. You know, maybe you just go there, have a bowl of laksa, you just take 5-10 minutes, done. But behind the preparation, it takes 12 hours, 16 hours, and then they set up the stores, they sell, and how much they're making. Sooner or later, nobody will do it. And this is something we need to retain. I love heritage, but I think it would be kind of interesting if something totally different pop up in a heritage area.
By challenging the status quo, Chin Chin innovates and diversifies the space for culinary creativity on an island that is deeply rooted in and very precious about tradition. A move that deserves mad respect. Amidst the purists and the rebels are those who walk on middle ground. And one person who mindfully maintains the balance between soul and commercial appeal in his own project is Mr. Tan Shito.
There was so much interest on the heritage side of Georgetown. Some were done very nicely, but some to me was over-conservation. It looks old, but it's totally new. So it loses that feel. Is this a new space or is this an old space? I don't feel that attachment.
Built in 1947, this old bus depot is now a space for creative expression, art exhibitions, resident creatives, and the community to play in. It's Sunday, we're here at Hidden Bus Depot. They have a pop-up market every Sunday. This is my first time here and I gotta say, like in KL, we also have stuff like that. But I feel so different here somehow. Like I feel very creative here and it's very warm. This place is a cultural institution reincarnated. And as with all things magical, it wasn't the original plan.
Hidden Bus Depot is very accidental. We left it vacant for 3 years. What happened is there's this artist friend that wanted to do a solo exhibition. Then I said, this is the last place I'm going to show you. And then the moment I drove him up the driveway there, he said, this is it, Mr. Tan. My art exhibition is going to call Art is Rubbish, Rubbish is Art. Yeah, you got all the rubbish here. I said, what? The first day of his opening, there were people waiting and we had never seen this before. Art in Penang? Come on. And then we realized, could it be that there's this need in Penang for a space like that? Then we started talking to artists and we saw that enthusiasm, that energy especially. We knew that this is something quite significant for Penang, so we decided let's give it a try for a few years.
If location is everything, Hidden Bus Depot didn't have it. A blessing in disguise.
We are very fortunate that we are not inside the heritage zone. The guidelines and the requirements will make this project not feasible at all. You have to use certain materials, also the walls, the roof tiles. It will be too costly.
Do you think there should be a balance in preserving heritage and moving forward to the future? Does that balance exist? How do you see it?
Most important is, I always say this, is relevance. How to make a heritage relevant to our current society. I think for Hidden Bus Depot, we sort of proved that point. After the bus depot business stopped, it became many other things. Car workshop, storage yard. So we wanted to preserve that and we want to tell stories about it. So right now, it's still following the same path.
Yeah.
Providing for the community in some way.
I'm getting goosebumps just hearing about that.
I want to prove a point that, hey look, you have this property sitting around. Come on, do something that is positive for the community, good for the community, but at the same time, challenge yourself to make money out of it. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. As long as it can cover your costs, with a bit of that, that's fine. That's good business, I think.
Pin Bus Depot is one of those rare places that puts creativity and heart above making money. And the result is more than a space. It's a vibe, a feeling. Thing is, many places can be blessed with rich heritage. But if there's a line between keeping it real and selling out, Penang is happily dancing on it. The old still thrive in the new, and the new pumps life into the old. I'm most inspired by how they do things thoughtfully and soulfully, almost never for the sake of. They may have different visions of what their Penang looks like, but one thing's for sure, they're all united by their deep and fierce love for it.